Good morning, my friends. This is Dr. Ginny Barrow. I've just spent the weekend at the baseball field. My son had a couple of, um, quite a few games at a tournament that we had this weekend. And I took the day yesterday, which was a day off, and I replenished. I did a lot of reading and lounging. And it's one of the things that I do as a leader to replenish. Something else that I do usually is I book retreats that I attend during the year with my tribe, with my group of other entrepreneurs who are on their way to bring their businesses and scale their businesses to the next level. And I also host retreats for the members of the Executive Bound family. And the reason why we do the retreats is because without being able to replenish, to empty out, to release potentially beliefs that no longer serve you, and also to fill up with motivation, inspiration, to get clear on the direction that you want to go in, and also to receive from other people who are around you that positive energy that people that come to these retreats bring, it's absolutely invaluable. And the reason why I'm speaking about this is because the 16th quality of healing and empowering leaders is that they self-care. Self-care is not a nice to have. To me and to the people that I work with, self-care is foundational. And so I want to talk to you about your self-care. How are you currently integrating self-care in your life? And many of us have a lot on our plates. We're not deceived about that. Simultaneously, I also know that we spend a lot of our time on activities that aren't really giving us the self-care, but that are also not moving the needle for us in our life. So if we're spending time doing other things that aren't necessarily filling us up and making us feel good when we're done doing them, what if you were to entertain replacing the time that you're spending on doing some of those mindless activities that don't really give you a charge, that don't inspire you, that don't give you a return on your time investment, and instead spend that time with consciousness and purpose doing activities that will replenish you. So what does self-care look like? And for those of you who self-care, please leave a comment and share with other leaders how you self-care, because that will give them ideas of how they can do it. I'm going to share with you a couple of ways in which I do it. I already mentioned that I schedule retreats throughout the year that I attend, and I'm basically a participant. I also scheduled recently 3 retreats that are happening every 4 months in 2022. Beginning in January, we'll have one in May and one in September. And all the members of my programs are invited to these exclusive retreats that I put together for the members of my coaching programs, my Fearless Leadership Mastermind, my Visionary Leaders Circle, my Personal Branding Masterclass. Anyone who attends any of my programs is invited to attend for free. And the reason why I do that is for the reasons that I already explained, and also because I believe that when you create a structure that supports you as a leader, and you're intentional about carving out the time to give yourself self-care, that's when it happens. If we leave it up to chance and wait until the right moment, or when you see your calendar empty, it's probably a non-discussion, right? Because we just don't seem to find the time on a week-to-week basis. But when we schedule our self-care, when we schedule that retreat, when we schedule that outing to go hiking or to meet up with a friend and do something that replenishes you, you have it on your calendar, and it becomes as serious to me as it is a doctor's appointment. For example, I took my family to go rafting at the end of the summer. And that was one of the ways in which I self-care, by spending quality time with family, downtime, what I call completely unplugged, no cell phones other than to take pictures. And that's about it. Another way that I self-care, in addition to vacationing and doing trips, is I like to do things by myself. So whenever I have a few moments during the weekend, if I don't have my son with me over the weekend, or if I have a couple of hours free between my coaching sessions, I like to read. So to me, reading is one of the ways in which I self-care. So you don't have to think that you have to go someplace and plan a trip and be out of your house necessarily to self-care. When we do the retreats, these are virtual retreats that I host, I also teach the members of my programs to do home spa treatments. And this is something that I learned from my mentors, to do the home spa treatments. And they're pretty straightforward. So I'm going to give you this little strategy. And if you want to use it, please go ahead. What I do is I schedule 2 hours. And during those 2 hours, I will have a meal. I will also take a nice walk if it's nice outside. While I'm walking, though, I am paying attention to the trees, the animals that I see, whether it's butterflies or worms or birds, whatever you may have in your local area. So pay attention to what you see. Make a mental note of the animals that you noticed. And when you come back to your home, look up what the animal meaning is. And it's a little adventure, it's a little game that I play. And it's fun to look up what those animals' meanings are and to see the significance of those animals' meanings in your life at this moment. So that's another way that in which I self-care. The home spa treatments is where I then come back from my walk and I will take a mask with either a detoxifying mask or a hydrating mask. You can get those masks at any beauty supply store, any major chain of supermarkets. And it's a 20-minute mask that you wash your face, you put on the mask. You can either play meditation music on your smartphone or through Alexa, whatever you use for music, and you sit back or lay back and spend the next 20 to 30 minutes relaxing with your mask on. The mask will eventually dry, then the time is up. I usually set my timer so that I'm not worried about how long have I been in this mode. And then I get up and I go about my day. Taking those 20 minutes, even if you don't have time to do the walk and come back and check the animals that you saw, even if you only took those 20 minutes to do your mask, that is plenty. And it will give you an extreme, delicious moment of self-care. So that's another quick way in which you can self-care on your day-to-day. The other way to self-care is to get some sleep. So many of us are deprived of sleep, and many of us have trouble sleeping. Raise your hand if you have trouble sleeping. I've been very fortunate that I've developed over time a practice that allows me to sleep soundly. And my practice for sleeping well is meditation. Many of you who meditate know the huge benefits to meditation. I'm a transcendental meditator. That means that I sit down 20 minutes in the morning when I wake up. I prop myself up on my bed and I meditate for 20 minutes. And at the end of the day, typically, I also do the same thing. I sit up right before I go to bed. I meditate for 20 minutes and then I am out. If you're having trouble sleeping, and I'm not going to give you medical advice, of course. This is simply sharing what I've seen my clients do, what I do myself, is watch what you eat, watch what you drink before you go to bed, watch what you're watching on TV, because a lot of people that I interact with have decided to kind of go on a news diet. The news is one source, an external source that can cause a lot, for those of us who are sensitive, can cause a lot of turmoil, crunchiness. After I watch the news, I don't ever remember saying, "Whew, that was excellent. I got to watch another episode of that." It's not going to happen. The news has been designed so that you are glued to the screen and it's nothing but bad news after bad news. It's very rare that the news will have an inspiring or motivating segment. And so if you find yourself that you are keeping and holding on to a lot of what you're reading or watching that is causing you angst, just remove it from your life. Get rid of it. If you can remove it 100% because of your job or because of the role that you have where you have to stay in the know, then I would say minimize your exposure to whatever you need to know about that subject so that you don't get so immersed in the bad news and the doom and gloom that when you are out of it, you bring it with you into your life, your relationships, your work, your interactions with people, and into your sleep. So pay attention to what you're eating, what you're drinking, what you're consuming. I know that in many cases, substances can prevent us from sleeping. Caffeine doesn't do anything to me when it comes to sleep, but for some people who are sensitive to caffeine, that can be a deterrent to a sound sleep. And so pay attention to those things and make sure that you get support if you're finding that sleep is one of the areas that you struggle with on a regular basis. The other thing that I do to self-care is that I eat well and I try to exercise on a regular basis. My routine, and I know you've heard me talk about structure and routine, is that I wake up about 3 to 4 days a week. 4 is on a really good week, 3 is on a regular week. And I get myself to the gym. I work out for 1 hour at a CrossFit gym. I go to a class. That way I know that I have to be there. I am told what to do and I do it. And I leave. Aside from also giving me some social activity where I get to meet some of the ladies, I go to a female CrossFit gym. I get to meet some of the ladies and see them and say hello. I have built this structure where I go to the gym, come home, make my breakfast, get ready, and sit down to do this, to meet with my clients, to do my trainings, to meet with my mastermind group, whatever the case may be for that day. And then I make sure that I'm eating healthy foods. Not always, I'm not a saint, but what I try to do at least is I try to watch my portions to make sure that I am not overeating. And I find that when I create a structure where I have my retreats, where I have time to do my home spa treatments, when I actually read the books that I have on my pile of books that I want to read, when I go to the gym, when I'm very intentional about the food that I'm eating every day, that overall I created a very harmonious and structure that supports my well-being. And so self-care is your pathway to living a life that's more peaceful, that is aligned with how you want to live your life, how you want to lead, and to give you the energy that you want to walk every single day with. If you're feeling yourself drained, stressed out, feeling like you're spinning plates, consider implementing any or one of or 2 or 3 of the things that I mentioned in this video. And I hope that it supports you so that you can bring that best self out when you are leading your teams or your department or organization in a way that you feel supported, you feel replenished, and you are ready to serve because you're not running on fumes. If this video resonates with you, please leave me a message. Let me know if you got any ideas from what I shared here. And if you have anything else that you do to self-care that I haven't mentioned, please leave it for me in the comments or reply to this email if you're receiving an email from me. And I would love to hear from you because I'm also here to learn from my community and from people like you who are in my trusted network. I hope that this has been helpful. If you want to connect with me, you can always find me at callwithginny.com. And if you're curious as to how to work with us, let's connect. Let's have a 15-minute cyber coffee or a 45-minute complimentary strategy session. You can find the links at callwithginny.com. I will see you soon.